being born again. Then listen, beloved, hear me and understand. The Old Testament laws, the 613, the mitzvahs, the Torah, the 5 books where you find these laws, was never intended by God to be a universal law for all people for all time. He spoke those things to ancient Israel. The Bible goes on to tell us in Romans chapter 8, this is important. He said, for in Christ, Romans chapter 8, verse 3, for in Christ Jesus, the law of the Spirit of life has set you free from the law of sin and death. For what the law, come on, 613 laws found in those 5 books, the Torah, for what the law was powerless to do in that it was weakened by the flesh, God did by sending his own Son in the likeness of sinful man as an offering for sin. He thus condemned sin in the flesh, so that the righteous standard of the law might be fulfilled in us, who do not live according to the flesh, but according to the Spirit. In other words, beloved, when you receive Christ and you begin to walk by faith in your redemption, you fulfill the law. You will not continue to sin against God and your neighbor. And that's what the 10 Commandments was about. The first 4 was our relationship with God, and the rest was our relationship to our neighbor. You will not break that commandment or those commandments if you really love God. If you walk in the Spirit, that means the awareness of God, his holiness, his plan of salvation and redemption. When you keep this in your mind, on your mind, you will not fulfill the lust of the flesh. Now, this is what he also told us. Now, keep in mind, Paul is a Jewish man, but he was sent to Gentiles, me and you, non-Jewish people, to bring the gospel, the good news of Jesus that liberated us from the laws found in the Torah. Listen to what he said. He said again, this is Galatians chapter 5, verse 4. Again, I testify to every man who gets himself circumcised. There was a question about the new believers being circumcised, the men. He says, again, I testify to every man who gets himself circumcised that he is obligated to obey the whole law. Because that was part of the 613 mitzvahs, or shall we say the 613 laws of Moses. He said, you are obligated to do the whole law. You are trying to be justified by the law. And you have alienated or severed yourself from Christ. You have fallen away from grace, but by faith we eagerly await through the Spirit the hope of righteousness. In other words, Paul let them know, if you're going to try to do these laws, new believers, you have to do all of them.